Is this the next evolutionary step in the flashlight world? Is this going to be up-to-date trend for the next 10 years? Or is it just a step sideways? I welcome you to my another review. This video comes before releasing my test of 203 flashlights and headlamps in English. The test I'm talking about is already fully published in Czech language, and that is in form of video on YouTube, and then also 112-page publication that covers almost every single piece of knowledge that I have gained by testing lights very thoroughly. 203 of them. There is also some more data available, like Microsoft Excel files with all the measured data, and also beam shots for each light, apart from the broad ones. These beam shots are for every mode and at fixed camera settings. Then there is also spectrometry reports, etc. Everything is freely available for personal use. The data is available now, but the publication itself and the video will be later when I finish it. Because translating such a huge piece of work, and it was 2.5 years of my work, it takes some time, and I have my priorities also somewhere else. So before I release the biggest comparative test of flashlights and headlamps on this planet in English version, please enjoy this video first. What's the video about? It's about Sofirn IF23 Pro. Why am I making video about this particular flashlight? There is 202 other flashlights or headlamps in the test. When I was finishing my test of 203 lights, Sofirn came up with first photos and info about Sofirn IF23 Pro, and it has caught my attention for multiple reasons. First thing, a standard 21700 cells is the big chunk that is still standard and widely available, well, compared to 26800 or other formats. Second thing, the Cree XHP 70.3 in neutral white, which is the best high-power LED on the market. When you consider the high power and light quality is the best one. Third thing, proper optics, a proper aluminum orange peel reflector with anti-reflective coated glass lens. This is the pinnacle of efficiency today in 2025. There is nothing better than this when it comes to efficiency. Moreover, it has side light, which is white, with high CRI, and it has adjustable temperature. And also there is some RGB features. That's for gamers. I just had to have this flashlight in my test, but the test was planned to be released on 1st of December 2024 in Czech Republic, and I wouldn't make it in time. So I repeatedly asked Sofirn, the factory, if they would have some pre-production model that I could test. I would buy it. I would buy a prototype, for example. No. And then it happened. Sofirn has put the word that IF23 Pro samples are gonna be sent to reviewers who then write or record a review, and I was one of the chosen ones. As I have already put my review on my Czech channel with more than 30,000 subscribers, I didn't really have to record this English video you are watching, but it would be shame if I spared you of some very practical info and experience not only about this flashlight, but also about the competition where this flashlight excels. And fear not, I am not tied in any way to speak lies, and I am not forced to sugarcoat this flashlight in any way. In the end, you will find out in this video that this flashlight also has 2 drawbacks, but it's still great. So I thank Sofirn company for sending me this sample, including battery, for review, and thank them for not dictating any content or any terms and conditions I would have to meet, with the exception of making a video review, of course. And that's all. I am only forced to do a review, that's all. There is no money involved, there is nothing like that. And I am not forced to say anything or to not say anything or show anything. So, you know, I like to clarify my relations with any companies that I cooperate with, so that you would know what to take in account. I may be one of very few YouTubers who do that, but in my country, in the Czech Republic, the land of beer, humor and beautiful girls and Škoda cars, here we value honesty, so I am gonna do this worldwide. So now, who is this Sofirn? Have you ever heard of them? Before I started my test of lights, I didn't know such a company existed. Sofirn is one of 3 manufacturers who produce flashlights the right way. The other ones are Convoy and Workhorse. You can see many of them here. Sofirn, Sofirn, no name, Convoy, 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 Ace Beam, also great. Convoy, Workhorse, 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 5 convoys, Workhorse, Sofirn, Sofirn, Lumintop, Phoenix, Convoy, Workhorse, Workhorse, Sofirn, Workhorse, 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 Lumintop, Sofirn, Workhorse, no name, Sofirn, Sofirn, Lumintop. And here we can see Sofirn, 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 Workhorse, Sofirn, Lumintop / Astrolux, and Nightcore and Sofirn. Unfortunately, Workhorse has decided to stop producing good lights recently, like half a year ago, so there is maybe already just 2 good manufacturers as today in 2025. So, what exactly do I mean by the good flashlights? Well, is the flashlight made the right way? What's that, you ask? The most modern technologies that are widely available for a normal price. That's it. Well, you aren't smarter than before this sentence, aren't you? So let me explain. What were first electric flashlights? This construction was pretty much worldwide. This particular one was made in Czechoslovakia. That means it was long before I was born. It was made of nickel-plated steel, and being powered by 2 D cells, it shines the entire, like half a dozen photons from classic incandescent bulb, wolfram or tungsten bulb, producing approximately 5 lumens and shining in smooth reflector. This flashlight produces exceptionally ugly and useless beam of darkness. Sometimes. The consistency of this beam is non-existent, as it just projects some yellow rings. They are eccentric, so they are all everywhere, and that's it. What somehow saves this is the focus mechanism. Some of these flashlights had this focus mechanism that allows you to play with the rings. You can displace the rings and place them somewhere else, but you will never get a proper beam out of them. These were just shitty. Honestly, yeah. So, another thing, if you would drop such a flashlight while shining, the hot wolfram or tungsten, depending on your language, filament would bend and shift and reshape, resulting in now a completely different beam pattern. Moreover, these lasted between 2 to 10 hours of runtime, depending on your battery type, so you had approximately 5 hours of something that is dim, and you can directly look into it and not burn your eyes at all. So yeah, these were this bad. We don't remember them as being this much bad, but they were. We only figure this out when we compare them to something newer. There was also 4.5 volt flat batteries. They are used in Europe and Russia, I believe, and these were commonly used with these colorful filters for indication purposes. In the USA, I believe these were not a thing, I think, and in the USA that there were these springy 6 volt blocks, if I remember correctly. So this was a current thing between 1900 to approximately 1990 to 2000. For 100 years, we haven't practically shifted from this design. Yes, there were some adjustments. For example, this one already has a polycarbonate lens and a focus system. Moreover, the E10 bulbs were becoming more and more long-lasting, and the batteries, well, dry zinc carbon batteries, they had almost no energy stored in them, and they were weak, unable to provide even 1 amp without being overloaded. In their last years, they were paralleled by plastic flashlights that used more modern krypton bulbs or halogen bulbs and were powered by smaller AA batteries. They may have been smaller than a D cell, but their capacity of these AA batteries were enough to produce like 15 lumens for 2 hours. So who cares? It's still better. Back then it was an improvement. But then the white LEDs have arrived. in the form of 5mm cold white LEDs with exceptionally ugly light, but there was 10 times more of the light for the same power input, for the same electric power, so approximately 10 times higher efficiency compared to incandescent bulbs. This meant that we could completely abandon the chunky D cells and also the C cells, if you remember them, and we would only keep on using the AA and AAA cells. Wonder if single A existed? Yes, they did. They were used in laptops back then, in 1990s to 1995, somewhere around this. The resin 5mm LED had one major disadvantage. They didn't have sufficient cooling and all the produced heat was sunk away using the input leads. And they were thin. So that's why we had to resort to using many of them side by side. This has changed with the first high power LEDs. First 1 watt and then 3 watt LEDs were available in this package. The center pot would be where the LED chip sits at, so you would put some thermal paste on this pot and then solder the LED on metal core printed circuit board. These boards have aluminum or copper filler material instead of FR4 resin with glass fiber. It may be heavier and more expensive to produce, but it conducts heat perfectly, which is what we want. We want to sink the heat from the LED to somewhere else. Some cheaper flashlights had just this 1 watt LED on the heat spreader MCPCB, and it was put in plastic flashlight body, just like this. This construction is very limited, as there is insufficient cooling, so the power output and efficiency is very small. Unfortunately, this construction still persists in the stores, and you are able to buy them, and they are sometimes the only option. Then there were also some better ones made of aluminum. The heat spreader was bolted to aluminum floor in the flashlight head, and that floor would lead the heat to the aluminum body. The entire body, the entire surface area of the flashlight was the heatsink. This allowed us to use full potential of these old 3 watt LEDs. These first generation high power LEDs are still produced until today, as they are cheap and do not require a hot plate to solder them. They are used in daytime running lights, they are used in light ramps for vehicles and work lights. Their efficiency hasn't increased really since then. They are still around 70 lumens per watt, but at least they are now produced also in neutral white. But they are slightly more expensive, so everyone uses cool white, unfortunately. So this is the first generation high power LEDs. Between the first and second generation, flashlights saw one another improvement, a huge one, as the powerhouse began shifting from old nickel metal hydride batteries to modern lithium-ion 18650s. Even back then, like 15 years ago, they were already mature enough to surpass the nickel technology. Modern lithium-ion cells like 18650 and 21700, they easily reach more than 1000 charge cycles. So 1000 charge and discharge. 1000 times you can do this and they will still work, which is more than any nickel metal hydride battery, and by far more than any lead acid battery. So car batteries, they last like 3 cycles. Deep cycle batteries, lead acid, they last like 150 cycles, then they die. Yeah, that's it. These last over 1000. It's the next thing, and it's already here. The LED technology then saw another milestone. I was talking about second generation. The second generation of high power LEDs was started by the mighty Cree XMLT6, a 10 watt LED that was soldered directly on MCPCB and cooled by soldered tin joint. This allowed for significantly higher power and longer lasting LEDs, as tin is a great heat and electricity conductor. Moreover, the soldering process got simpler for high volumes, as you could just put some solder paste on the MCPCB, put the LED on the blob, and just heat it up, it's all. The Cree XMLT6 was only made in cool white, but you had plenty of said cool white, so everyone was happy. The flashlights are progressing and they are getting higher power. As third generation high power LEDs, I would consider the XPL, XPG or XHP series. Well, if we are talking about Cree. The third generation LEDs are available in all temperatures from warm white through neutral white to cool white, while High CRI or high color rendering index variants are also available. The third generation LEDs are defined by the focused shift on the quality of light rather than to rush after as many lumens as possible. Because why have thousands of lumens when all you see is just gray light producing blinding darkness? This neatly describes the practical results of cool white low CRI LEDs. So what has changed since then? Not much, to be honest. Let's just exclude bad flashlights for now. And let's exclude the plastic overpriced branded junk running on AA batteries housing a 1-watt LED first gen, and let's also ignore the flashlights with integrated lithium polymer batteries, which are very effective planned obsolescence device. So let's focus on the modern healthy flashlights. What has changed? Not much. It's still all metal body. It used to be brass or steel with nickel plating, and now it's aluminum alloy, which is lighter, sturdier, and sinks heat better. The cells, they are still standard, cylindrical and changeable by unscrewing the tail cap, and you can still hoard a pile of spare cells. But modern lithium-ion cells reach energy density of 900 kWh per cubic meter, which is 13 times more than most modern zinc-carbon dry cells, or 7 times higher than alkaline cells, or 3 times higher than most modern nickel-metal hydride cells. So, for the same volume, you carry 3 to 13 times more energy in the same volume of the battery cell, of the cylinder. The switch is still placed under your thumb. Yes, there are many tail switch flashlights, but they are only to be used with firearms and rifles. For ordinary use, a thumb switch is the best. But they have also evolved. It's no longer just some sliding copper plate. It's a button that sends signals to a microprocessor that does exactly what it is programmed to do, allowing user to adjust brightness or to perform some blinking at will. The reflector is also similar. If you get a high quality flashlight, it's gonna have reflector optics. Well, TIR optics are on a rise, but only because they are incredibly cheap. That's the only reason. But they are also inefficient and they have terrible optical properties. So the reflector is still made of metal, but it's no longer steel or copper or brass parabola with chrome plating, but it is machined aluminum reflector with orange peel dents on the surface that has been vacuum plated for exceptional reflectivity. And then there is glass. It's also very similar. We used to have ordinary glass, then polycarbonate, and then we returned to glass. Now the glass is sturdier, and in some cases also metal plated to increase the efficiency by cutting down losses on the borderline between glass and air. So it seems like we have gone full circle, right? Well, somehow yes. But the light source is completely different. LED is moreover driven by constant current driver to ensure optimal characteristics for steady supply of constant brightness and to prolong lifespan of the LED. Some cheaper flashlights and most of the headlamps use PWM or so-called FET drivers. This is less optimal, doesn't provide steady light, but it is also acceptable if you would run at high frequency, and it is small. That's why it's used in headlamps. So this is the peak of modern flashlights. Aluminum body, standard lithium-ion cell, onboard USB-C charging, magnet, deep carry clip, constant current boost driver, thumb switch, Unreal firmware or at least Unreal inspired controls, third generation LED, and aluminum orange peel reflector enclosed by anti-reflective coated glass. This is the pinnacle of modern technology. But this pinnacle has recently been upgraded. The modern healthy flashlight has got a new evolutionary branch, new brother, and that is the universal modern flashlight. What defines such a universal flashlight? Take a standard, modern, healthy flashlight and add some significant functionality enabling it to also serve as a floodlight. That's a universal flashlight by definition. There are some occasions when we know we will be in need for a longer distance flashlight and also at the same time for a floodlight. Carrying two lamps is not that much comfortable, let alone that you would probably spend some more money. And it would take double the space in your backpack or on your shelf. Many modern manufacturers of healthy flashlights, as I call them, they have already tried making such a universal flashlight. While Sofirn and Nightcore have succeeded, Workhose and Astrolux/Mateminco/Lumintop have failed. Please note we won't be taking in competition any junky generic OEM Aliexpress plastic flashlights for $10. They are almost exclusively useless garbage. Here is a comparison table I made for these universal flashlights so that you could have access to any info just at any time. Link to this table for download is in the description, but you could also take a screenshot. It's bilingual because my Czech channel is the main one. I have personally tested all the flashlights in this table excluding the IF24 without the Pro because it's way too similar to IF24 Pro. So I have the Pro version tested and the non-Pro version not tested. Battery type is what divides these flashlights the most. Sofirn IF23 series, then Sofirn SC03 and Nightcore NWL20 are powered by standard 21700. This cell type reaches usually 5 amp hours, and today, as in Q1 2025, we can get 6 amp hour cells from Wapcell if you want a standard naked flat top cell, or from Keypower that unfortunately always keeps spotting PCB protection circuits on their batteries, which is unfortunate. Therefore, because of this protection circuit, they are bigger, not only in length but also in thickness. This is the length difference. A huge difference in length. And the thickness? Well, it's a standard cell like this one. They then put the electronics here, then they put there a nickel strip, then another wrap, heat shrink wrap, and also plus this sticker. So the thickness is much thicker. These batteries are bigger, significantly bigger, and they wouldn't fit in most of the healthy flashlights that have all the protections built in. Well, in practice, the IF23 Pro fits them, but the springs do not like it. So this Keypower would be only used in Nightcore, as Nightcore always uses PCB protection cells, and as Nightcore is made for these bigger cells. Ordinary cells, for example, wouldn't have contact in this flashlight or universal light. What's much worse is that Nightcore only has springed minus pole and plus pole is solid. So the battery is free to act as a hammer and possibly could damage itself on impact or damage the light's internals. This video is recorded with 60 FPS and I think you can probably see how it's blinking in 60 FPS. Yeah, this is the solid plus pole plus weak spring. One more disadvantage of this solution with just a single spring is that the battery acts as a hammer. In IF23 Pro and IF24 series, as the battery is between two springs, plus pole is springy and minus pole is springy, then shall the flashlight fall on a concrete, for example, on concrete floor, the battery, the heavy chunky battery, would just do this. Fall, impact, blue, 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 blue. And that's that. That's all. No damage whatsoever. But in solid plus pole flashlights, the battery on impact would shorten the spring, storing the kinetic energy and then releasing the energy back as a hammer. So it would store the energy in the spring, then return and boom hammer, boom hammer, boom hammer, boom hammer. This hammering can destroy the PCB inside. So beware of solid plus pole flashlights. They may damage your battery and they may also themselves get damaged. Then we have 18650. That is Sofirn IF24 series as well as Workhose HD11. Standard 18650 battery, they are more common than 21700 as they are the most common lithium batteries on this planet. They usually reach 3 to 3.5 amp hours, while the maximum, as in Q1 2025, is exactly 4 amp hours. And again, that would be from WebCell and from key power. And again, WebCell is just bare cell for normal price, and key power is the PCB protected. This is smaller capacity, but there is also 4 amp hours version, and it is bigger than standard 18650. The IF24 Pro also has 2 springs and also can accommodate these PCB protection batteries, but again, I do not recommend them, and I recommend bare cells. You can also get bare cells from Sofirn. All Sofirn cells are bare with only the button top added. That's all. The last one, the Astrolux LT2, uses 14500. That today peaks at 1.5 amp hours, but you can usually find them with capacity of 1 amp hour approximately. The 14500 has the same dimensions as AA battery, so some 14500 lights can use both AA and 14500. The Astrolux LT2 can run from both, so 1.2 or 1.5 volt AA or this lithium-ion variant. However, it wouldn't be Astrolux / Lumintop / Mateminco if they didn't screw something up. And they did. The battery tube is too narrow, so it fits only half of 14500s or half of AA cells. The other half just wouldn't fit because of thickness. The battery tube is too narrow. They keep screwing up. Lumintop, Astrolux, Mateminco, they keep screwing up things. When your battery discharges, you can take the battery out in all these cases and put the battery in a charger. May it be top of the line SkyRC MC3000 or cheap and good Litokala LII-500 or some cheap single bay charger with USB-C. They still work, and they will work. Some of them will even take 21700. So you can use these chargers, or you can use onboard charging. All these flashlights have onboard charging. Usually behind dust cover, and it's also waterproof cover, there hides USB Type-C connector. This is the case of each of these flashlights. However, some of the flashlights have this recess too narrow. It is Workhorse HD11, for example, Sofirn SC03, Astrolux LT2, and the old version, the Sofirn IF23. The USB recess is so narrow that 80% of your USB cables will not fit in here, in this opening. They won't fit. So that's quite a problem, I would say. The IF23 Pro and IF24 series, they have this thing okay, and you can charge them without any problems. One last thing about batteries, as the 21700 cells, they have very sufficient capacities for most things, as they have 5 amp hours usually. You may remember that phones also have 5 amp hours, so Sofirn has decided to implement one more function, a power bank function. IF23 Pro and IF23, that means both models on 21700 cell, they can be connected to your phone with USB Type-C to Type-C cable, and they can charge your phone. They can handle 5 volts and 3 amps. It's the same power bank functionality we are used from, for example, Sofirn Q8+. This Sofirn also has power bank functionality. Or we are used to it from Sofirn LT1, or from Sofirn LT1S, or from Sofirn SP33S, or from Workhorse FC13, which I have 2 of them, or from Workhorse TS22. This function, this power bank function, enables you to not only perform emergency charging, but you can as well use your flashlight as a power bank with changeable batteries. And it's great to have the ability to change your batteries in your power bank. Well, there is actually some already power banks with changeable batteries. I would recommend this Litokala LII MP2. They have changeable batteries, but Be careful, there is also X-Star, looks very similar but works much worse. So keep in mind that it must be litho color. But if you don't want to buy such a power bank and want something with changeable batteries, you can as well use, for example, this flashlight. Let's jump on construction and controls. When Sofirn first came up with first universal flashlight, that would be Sofirn SC03, I was disappointed, as SC03 is a trash flashlight. The controls are according to Phoenix scheme, which is just inferior to any other schemes. It auto-locks, so I need to unlock it, and it's Phoenix scheme, so hold to turn into last mode. Whatever the mode was, it will always go in the last mode. Then click to change modes and hold to turn off. You cannot control at which mode you turn it on, which is awful. Moreover, it keeps locking itself, which is understandable. It's an outdoor flashlight, but this feature cannot be turned off. Moreover, the main LED is cool white, which is useless for outdoor, as it just gives you sharp reflections and you see less than with neutral white. Moreover, the deep dish reflector is too deep and too focused, rendering it useless for night walking, as you just see a tiny spot, a tiny hot spot, and nothing around. What's even worse is the reflector quality, mainly the coating. And what's the worst is that the floodlight is supposed to reflect from oxidized aluminum. This is the internal coating, which is grayish, it's bad quality, and these LEDs around, these small LEDs, they are supposed to reflect from this ugly piece of aluminum, some oxidized aluminum. The reflection, well, there is some significant losses, I must say, and this flashlight is just plain bad. And it's no wonder Sofirn no longer makes them. Then Nightcore came up with NWL20, which is more like a work lamp. The magnetic base is tilting, which is very smart, and the hook, well, I have never used it, but okay. The control button is on one side, so I sometimes have hard time finding it, mainly in gloves, which is a problem, and I sometimes keep pressing this instead of the button. The controls is irrational. Medium, high, low. Well, these form a nice logical row. Then again, then red and red blinking. Yeah, it's even more useless and should be hidden, somewhere hidden, like behind 2 clicks or something like that. Why is red between the main modes? I don't know. If you would want spotlight, then hold the button and it goes high, low and off. The beam is a nice Gaussian beam, I must say, so great even for night walking, although with weaker power. So the Nightcore is better and worse at the same time compared to SC03. Let me turn it off. Then came Lumintop, or Mateminco, or Astrolux with LT2. They have spared no expense on the anti-reflective coated glass lens, but they have screwed up the battery tube, the flat LEDs which have low CRI, and the controls. It's click to on, click to off, and hold to change brightness. Well, until now it sounds like Unreal-inspired controls. Unfortunately, there is only smooth ramping, and apart from it being not so smooth. Now jump. Now jump. You never know how many lumens you have and how long will your flashlight last. How many lumens do I have now? How long will it last? And now? I don't know. Moreover, the backlit button, yes, this is backlit, is made of dark rubber, so you don't see the indication LED. Why? Why would they do that? Indication LED behind a black button. What is also bad is that when you switch the lights from the main to the side, let's say, it's 3 clicks. You cannot change the brightness immediately. I am holding it and it wouldn't change the brightness. It doesn't respond. So again, after some time, it responds. Lumintop/Astrolux/MateMinco has once again screwed up a flashlight. Then, after this Astrolux, came first Sofirn IF23, and it has ended the dark age of bad universal flashlights. It was still controlled by a single button, which was somehow inconvenient, and it would auto-lock, but you could turn it on in any modes. So, single click for long beam, double click for flood, and triple click for aux. Any double clicks when it's lighting would then enable turbo, and other double clicks would access specialty blinking modes, blinking, SOS, beacon. This flashlight was already beginning to be great mechanically, and only the controls were sort of confusing a little, but much better than any other before. Sofirn company has then released the IF24 very soon after the IF24 Pro. It's smaller form factor and has different controls, but it still keeps the same construction as IF23. The controls are according to Anduril scheme. Unfortunately, it doesn't have full-sized Anduril, unfortunately, but it copies the most basic functionality very well, including the moonlight being accessible. Let's lock it. It's locked, and the moonlight is available in locked state. Great functionality. The light source switching is done by this rotary ring, and RGB LEDs are now programmable, so each one of them can shine a different color. Some people may ask, why does it have the white LEDs when you already have RGB and RGB can produce white? Well, it can't, because if you would produce or attempt to produce white light from RGB LEDs, the spectrum is covered just partially by 3 sole narrow peaks, and as a result it would have incredibly low light quality, low CRI. In my case, and I have tested that, is CRI 36RA, which is incredibly low and actually comparable to only xenon or cheapest CCFL lights. Then, Vercos has appeared on the scene with HD11 that was incredibly bad, housing one of the worst LEDs, luminous in cool white, and using common TIR optics with terrible efficiency and projecting maps. The controls are slightly inspired by Anduril, fortunately, and are very similar to those of IF23, the original one. What came in last is the IF23 Pro with the same controls as IF24 series, plus the white side light has 2 sets of diodes for CCT shifting. The LED indicator has moved to the center of the button to be better visible. Plus, the IF23 Pro has one more feature compared to IF24 series. It doesn't turn off while switching lights. So if you switch from like long beam to floodlight, you don't need to turn it on again. Unfortunately, while implementing this feature, Sofirn has also included one bug. If you turn, if you turn the flashlight on in moonlight mode, and then while shining in moonlight you lock it, it doesn't lock. And you are free to use all the modes from previous slide. Even turbo. It's in locked state and I can turn it on in turbo. Yeah, it's a new light. It's a new model, so there will be some bugs for sure. You don't really avoid problems with pre-production models, which this is. So if Sofirn would just solve this in the next batch, that would be perfectly fine. Let's jump on main lights. When a flashlight or headlamp has more lights, some people call them beam and flood. But beam is what actually comes of the light source. Any light source. It's the light cone. So better naming would be high beam, as from cars, high beams, or long beam, as it is supposed to throw the photons further. I'm gonna call that long beam. So this is long beam and this is flood. The IF24 series, as well as SC03 and Vorko's HD11, use LEDs from Luminous, which have uglier light compared to Cree LEDs, but they are cheap and reasonably efficient. Those would be SST40, which is domed, and SFT40, which is domeless and with smaller active area. The light is usually cool white, which is bad. Cool white is bad. With the exception of IF24 Pro, which is cooler neutral white, it's acceptable, I would say. As a part of my test of 203 headlamps and flashlights, I have also tested many things all by myself, including tens of hours walking with handful of flashlights. I had full pockets of flashlights in my jacket, and I was testing some stuff like visibility or blinding glare or monochromatic colors and everything. Cool white LEDs are cheaper to manufacture and are typically slightly more efficient compared to warmer variants, but they have more aggressive blue peak, which is not good. What I have figured out, and it is supported by many people from this specialization, cool white, although it benefits from slightly higher luminous output, is actually counterproductive, as the glare blinds you more, resulting in your pupil narrowing. It's like iris on Stargate. So effectively, you see slightly less compared to, for example, 5000K. This varies from human to human. Some people have the sweet spot at 4500K. Some people have the sweet spot at 5000K. Speaking of Cree LEDs that were used as test LEDs, I used Cree. Luminous LEDs have, compared to Cree, even worse blue peak. So, for example, 4000 to 4500K would be the sweet spot for luminous, and 4500K to 5000K would be the sweet spot for Cree. These tests of visibility have been performed by me and some other people using Cree XPL, Cree XHP50 and Cree XHP70 series. And needless to say, we got all very similar, if not same conclusion. Neutral white is the best. Cool white is blinding darkness, and warm white is usually for fog and rain. So cool white light really makes no sense. It's ugly, it's unpleasant, and you see less. Therefore, the only light with luminous LED that I would consider would be IF24 Pro with 5500K. It's already too high, but still somehow acceptable, and is the reason why I have bought it. The IF23 series, which is the bigger battery ones, use more expensive, higher quality LEDs from Cree. No, it's not Jaffa Cree, but CREE. IF23 uses 18 watt XHP 50.2 in unfortunately cool white, but IF23 Pro uses 45 watt XHP 70.3 HD 5000K, which is great. Unfortunately, several people have bought it based on my recommendation, and what they got was XHP 70.2 in cool white. Those people were reaching to me saying they have been scammed. Sofirn has then told them that they have used the 5000K only in the pre-production model for reviewers, and the series production has XHP 70.2 6500K. Well, this is a problem. First problem is the cool white. It's bad. You see less. Even though you have more lumens, you see less. 5000K is the best CCT for long beam lights, period. Second problem is both XHP 70.3 HD and all XHP 70.2s are domed. They have this silicon dome over the LED, so that they are more floody, but they also are prone to CCT shifting, resulting in the beam having a cool white center and warmer white peripherals. Moreover, the optics in this particular case is too floody. I mean, it's too floody for night walking, as the reflector is very shallow for a domed LED, so focusing it more would be best. Fortunately, there is one simple and easy fix to all three of the listed problems. Switching to Cree XHP 70.3 HI 5000K. That would solve all the problems. HI version is domeless, it doesn't have the silicon dome, so there is less CCT shifting across the beam, and the beam would be slightly more focused in the Gaussian beam. And 5000K is the perfect neutral white for night walking and overall use, general use. So please, Sofirn, introduce XHP 70.3 HI 5000K in them. Such LED would make it one of the best long beam flashlights on the market, producing nice Gaussian beam for all-around use, while shining in the most suitable neutral white in high efficiency, high quality reflector with AR-coated lens. Could the XHP 70.3 HI 5000K? We crave for it. Please, Sofirn, introduce this LED in this model. It would make sense. Now about the optics. As I have just said it, the IF23 Pro has the perfect optics. There is proper aluminum reflector with orange peel surface and vacuum coating. The glass lens is metal coated for lower luminous losses, because when you have any glass or any material, then you have luminous losses at the edges of the material, so the borders. The metal coating causes slightly less luminous losses. This assembly would probably have luminous losses of maximum 10%, but typically around 8%. Yeah, this is beautiful. IF23 without Pro in the name, it has similar reflector but ordinary glass, in my case cracked. So the total losses would be between 10 to 12%, I assume. The IF24 and IF24 Pro, they use plastic TIR optics. They usually have losses around 15%, but are cheap. In my opinion, it would make sense so that the cheaper IF24 would keep using this TIR optics, and the more expensive IF24 Pro version would have proper aluminum reflector with glass lens. Just my suggestion. TIR optics have many disadvantages. Aside from bad efficiency, it's also the fact that they don't really want to produce nicer beam profiles. The TIR in this flashlight, it's this one. The TIR in this flashlight produces what I call the target beam. It's only one narrow, very strongly lit center and dimly lit peripherals. Problem is that this circle is too narrow, so there is just one blindingly sharp spot and darkness all around. Target style beam is the easiest to produce, but also pretty much useless. Fortunately, there is an easy fix for this. Make the optics frosted. This would lead to flooding the beam, at least the borders of the central hotspot, resulting in somehow focused Gaussian beam, which is all around more useful. I have really tried working with as many flashlights as possible, and flashlights with this focused target TIR optics, they were unfortunately useless for walking. Sofirn SC03 is no longer made, so let's not talk about it. And lastly, the IF24 Pro, IF23 and IF23 Pro have very stable luminous output, mainly the Pro versions, which have buck converter. They provide steady, constant light without any traces of ramp down on the way. The only ramp down is, of course, present when the battery is discharged. This is great because once you turn it on in particular mode, you are going to have exactly the same lumens all the time until the battery dies, which is great. Stable light output. That's what people crave for. All the flashlights, because they are universal, they also have secondary light. And I consider secondary light to be floody white. Thanks to this, they can light up some areas in a room, or they can serve as an orientation light. They can also be used in garage or around your car. This light is usually warmer, neutral white, with a higher CRI of at least 90 RA. The exceptions are Nightcore, that is cool white with bad CRI. But, well, this is a car mechanic light, so okay, I guess. And second exception is Astrolux with low CRI warm white. Sofirn SC03, when turned on to high mode, gets so hot that it smells and you wouldn't be able to keep holding it in your hand. even with this. The loud output is very dim, and that's because of the light falls on the oxidized aluminum outer reflector that eats quite a portion of the light, unfortunately. Well, it's not made anymore, so let's not talk about it further. Vorko's HD11 has a very nice CRI of 96 RA, but it shines into a bad quality optics that projects many maps and contrast circles and everything, so these patterns may be disruptive to your eyes. You wouldn't be able to see it on the video because I barely see it with my lights on, with my studio lights on, but it's there. The disruptive maps and rings are there. A solution to this would be attaching a diffuser, a silicone diffuser, but well, you can as well attach a silicone diffuser on any ordinary flashlight with much higher power and efficiency. So this one pretty much loses it, and it's not a universal flashlight because you need diffuser to make it universal, which is condition with normal classic flashlights. The Sofirn IF24 Pro and IF23, they have neutral white, approximately 5000 kelvins with CRI 90 RA, which is great. The IF23 Pro has adjustable, let me just dim the video a little, decrease the ISO to 25. It has adjustable, this is neutral white, this is cool white, and this is warm white. If you set it to the neutral 5000K, the light quality results in CRI 92 RA. This is a very common phenomenon that if you combine two CCTs, you get higher CRI. The night core, the IF24 Pro and IF23 Pro have the white floodlight, very powerful, so it can be used to light up even half of a room. IF23 Pro has smooth ramping to change brightness, so one problem of this is that you never know how high is the output and how long will the battery last. The ability to change it to stepped mode would be a great addition to the firmware. The IF24 series and the IF23 Pro have the floodlight covered by frosted glass, so apart from better optical characteristics compared to plastic, it is also more scratch resistant. I must say that the adjustable CCT, the adjustable temperature of the white side light in the IF23 Pro is a great thing. This can only be seen in Sofirn IF22, which is not made anymore, then Sofirn LT1, this camping light, then we can find it in Sofirn LT1S and Convoy S21F, and some emitter lights. So that's all from the flashlight world. These are the only flashlights that allow you to change the CCT. Well, apart from photography lights, of course. The CCT change is great for filming, for photography, when you need to match the CCT of other light sources, which is crucial. If you record a video or take a photo, you don't want to have like half of the photo warm and half of the photo cool. But you can also use it in closed compartment, like in a bunker, to help your body in the morning to set it to cool white, to keep yourself awake and in better mood, because blue light enhances mood. And in the evening, you set it to warmer white, to prepare for bedtime, to not block your sleeping cycle. I have personally used this concrete IF23 Pro like this many times, as a mood light, we would say. Tertiary light, or third light, is present only in few flashlights. The night core and HD11 have red, and the IF Sofirns have RGB. So it is great for RGB gaming, enhancing your performance on red, or reducing CPU and GPU temps with blue, in this case it's flashlight temps, or you can reduce your power consumption by using green. It's a common phenomenon, we know it from computers, it works. Of course, I'm making fun. The night core has a very powerful red, which is great. You can easily illuminate smaller areas, mainly in nighttime, and it doesn't keep people awake, as they can sleep under red light. But still, if they wake up to go on toilet, for example, they at least see something, and their sleeping cycle will not get blocked. The red is very powerful and I like it. The workhorse has screwed the red light heavily. I'm gonna turn off these 1/2 of the studio lights. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. We have red mode. Look at this. Let me turn off the second. This is the red mode of the workhorse HD11. Yeah, this junk. 1 circle and three spots. What the hell is this? How am I supposed to illuminate anything with this piece of junk? That's just awful. So workhorse has screwed the red light heavily with the common TIR optics, as it is usual. Common TIR optics is always a bad idea. The IF23 has standard RGB LEDs. Let me decrease the ISO and maybe even... So exposure time 1000 is best. So we can adjust the color as we want. That's the IF23, just steady color or blinking. Then we have IF23 Pro and IF24 Pro, which has more modes. Let's see. Turn it on. It's red. Let me increase the exposure time a little. Okay, steady color. I can of course change the color. Now, double click. It's just blinking. Double click, it's policeman. Double click, it's slowly changing colors, but aren't they going from the right to the left? Aren't they changing like that? I'm gonna decrease. Yeah, 1000. Yeah. This means any LED can have a different color at one time. Let's see. Do you see it? So IF24 Pro and IF23 Pro, they have programmable RGB lights. That's great. I really love this rain, this RGB rain. It's a great gimmick. And breathing color. With every breath, it changes color. That's all. So very nice, very neat. So let's sum it up. If you are looking for a work light with some long beam ability, Nightcore is the way, but keep in mind that it shouldn't fall and it only accepts PCB batteries which are not standard. I do not consider them to be standard. If you are looking for an EDC universal flashlight, the IF24 Pro is my favorite. It would be perfect. Only the long beam is too focused and too cool white. That's all. Apart from this, it's a perfect 18650 universal flashlight for EDC. And if you are looking for a light for night walking, some utility light, or light for photography on the go, the IF23 Pro is the way to go. Unfortunately, the current version has cool white LED, so if you want the perfect beam, please try to contact Sofirn if they could make a version with Cree XHP 70.3, but in HI, domeless, in 5000K. Because this LED would suit the flashlight the best. If Mauser or TME would have this LED in stock, I would immediately buy it and change it, but well, we know how it goes with the LEDs in these distribution networks. Order a complete 100,000 piece reel or go away. The IF23 Pro is also good for some outdoor adventures, as you can charge your phone from it. So that's it for this video. Goodbye and see you in another video. It should be a clamp meter from Hioki, or the test of 203 flashlights, or video review of Ulefone tablet with thermal camera. Whichever comes first. I don't really know. That's all. Goodbye.